Affairs, and I've waited unabatedly for my opportunity to come here as I watched my colleague, the EU, last week.
This is Diplomatic Affairs. My name is Harriet Nati.
This is Swift Africa. On the show, this is still Good Morning Africa on Pan-African Television with me, OHEMAA, AGYEKUM, on the newspaper headlines segment. Since it's a Wednesday, you already know what time it is. It is our Health Wednesday. That's what I choose to call it. Welcome to our health segment, and as I mentioned earlier, I'll be in conversation with Haruna Ibrahim. He's from the ACHIAA Municipal Health Directorate, and we're going to talk about oral health. Good morning, Haruna. How's it going?
It's going fine.
I like your shirt, and that's why I was asking if today is Oral Health Day.
Yeah, the Oral Health Day is actually, Oral Health Awareness Month is actually in March.
March,
yes,
okay.
But today, because I was obviously coming to talk about Oral Health Day, I
decided
to bring those
you decided to rock the moment. You decided to walk the talk. Yeah. Now, thank you so much for joining us. You know, our health is our wealth, and health happens to be the cornerstone of life. So we do appreciate your team's efforts for always showing up and educating us and promoting health and well-being. Now, let's delve into the subject of oral health. Tell us about oral health. How important is oral health, and how does it affect our overall well-being?
Yeah, thank you. So when we say oral health has to do with the body's or the individual's ability to perform certain activities within the oral cavity without any form of discomfort, without any form of discomfort within the body. And when I say activities, the activities we perform within our oral cavity is to speak, is to chew, and then is to feed into our system. When we are able to do all these things without a discomfort, then we say the person has a good oral health, or the person is in a good oral health state. Now, when it comes to the relationship or the impact oral health has on our body, we can all agree to one thing, that when we say the mouth is part of the body, just as your heart, just as your lungs, just as your kidneys and other parts are also part of the body. But in our part of the world, I normally say that we forget that our mouth is also part. People tend to treat the oral health separately from the body, which is not supposed to be so. So today, actually, we are going to look at the impact of oral health on diabetes and then hypertension, which we normally say they are lifestyle diseases.
Okay.
When you take the diseases, the pattern of diseases, realize that we have what we call the non-communicable diseases, and then we have communicable diseases.
Right.
Yes. So diabetes and hypertension is on the rise. So we say that now the non-communicable diseases are very, very, very like surging. They are surging up. When you go to the health care delivery centers, you realize that most of the clients, either they are coming to take diabetic medications or hypertension medications, and then The reason why we classify them as lifestyle disease because we get those conditions as a result of the behaviors and the lifestyles that we put on. Oral health happens to be one part of the non-communicable diseases. Almost all the oral health conditions that we get are normally due to lifestyle. It is not something that can be moved from
not genetic or transferable.
Yes, just a few of them can have genetic traits. At least the rest of them are more like lifestyle. They are not transferable. So when we want to delve into diabetes, I will take them one after the other.
Okay.
Diabetes and oral health. Then we talk about hypertension and oral health. Then we come to them.
But one may ask, is it not interesting that diabetes, when you take diabetes as a health condition, which is non-communicable, it's chronic.
Yes.
That means it cannot be treated or cured, only managed. And when you take this condition, how do you then, justify oral health? Because at the end of the day, oral health, you're looking at how to maintain personal hygiene, how to brush your teeth, get your tongue clean, and all that. How does it relate to diabetes, especially when you have also mentioned that these conditions are lifestyle based, or they are as a result of our life choices?
Okay. So when you take oral health and diabetes, normally when we say the relationship, we mean that oral health has some form of a reflection in our systemic conditions, and then the systemic conditions also have some reflections in the oral cavity. For instance, you have oral health conditions due to high sugar levels in diabetic patient. Diabetic patient, normally their cells are unable to utilize the sugar within the system. So due to high sugar levels within the bloodstream, it increases the glucose content within our saliva, within the oral cavity. So sometimes it tends to, with increased glucose levels within the saliva, means that there is an increase in what we call dental caries. There is an increase in the occurrence of the risk of contracting dental caries within the oral cavity. Apart from that, people with diabetes also tend to suffer from what we call periodontal diseases, or what we call periodontitis. This is as a result of the fact that when you are diabetic, your immune system is a bit compromised. So the body is unable to fight certain inflammations and then infections within the body. And these inflammations and then infections include those that affect the gums and then the surrounding tissues of the tooth itself. And then when you have diabetes, as I said, if you are unable to, it affects your diet as well. So you are unable to normally feed well. So when you're unable to feed well, you don't really get the required nutrients that you are supposed to have in order to boost your immune system. Some of the common conditions that are normally common within people with diabetes, as I mentioned, we have periodontal diseases, with a key example being periodontitis. We also have some conditions like dental caries is also prone, since there is increase in blood sugar level. When I think maybe at the right time we'll come back and talk about how dental caries and other things so that people can put
today we'll just
together. So today we should just tackle it from the surface. So when you have increased blood sugar level, you have an increased chances of getting dental caries. So dental caries becomes more prone in people with diabetes. Apart from that, as I said, because the body is unable to fight infections due to the compromised immune system, you are also prone to having periodontal diseases and then other ones as well. Now when we move to hypertension, which also happens to be an increase in blood pressure, within abnormal increase in the blood pressure of the body, that one too can influence oral health, and then oral health can also influence that. Yes, when you take how blood pressure can increase one's chances of contracting gum diseases, as I said. It also increases one's chances of suffering from what we call TMJ disorders, and then you can also have jaw pain and other ones. On the other hand, when oral health has to influence blood pressure, when you have oral health problems such as dental caries and there is pain, it normally increases your anxiety level. And then when your anxiety level increases, it tends to shoot your blood pressure as well. Apart from that, also, when you have high blood pressure, it tends to move, the blood flow.
Yeah.
When it is higher in certain areas, it tends to cause some of the muscles and other things there to be more tensed. Okay. So when they are tensed like that, it tends to result in pain and other discomfort, which tends to increase your blood pressure. Okay. Apart from that too, we can talk about some medications that are used to treat hypertension. Okay. Some such as the beta blockers and then the calcium channel blockers and other diuretics. Some of them tends to reduce saliva flow within the mouth.
Those are the aftermath.
Yes, the aftermath.
What do you call the side effects?
The side effects of some of the medications that are used to treat hypertension. Some of them tends to reduce saliva flow within the oral cavity. Okay. And then saliva flow within the oral cavity tends to helps to prevent a lot of conditions. It helps to prevent dental caries, as we said earlier. It helps to cleanse the mouth as usual. Then it has some enzymes and then microorganisms that tends to help in maintaining optimum health within the oral cavity.
Right.
So,
right, please. Carry on, yeah.
Yeah. So when there is this, when there is decrease in the saliva flow, it tends to increase some of these conditions. That is what I meant to. I meant to say.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much. We have been enlightened. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that diabetes or hypertension has some level of effect on oral health and vice versa. But this morning we have been enlightened by Haruna Ibrahim. I almost said Idrisu again. He says people confuse him for the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, but it's all good. Now let's wrap it up with how people with these conditions can protect their oral health, and also those of us who are quote unquote healthy. How do we maintain the status?
Okay. So when in wrapping up, let me just say, with all that I've said, you realize that a lot of them have like more a common risk factor or something. There are some common risk factors that bring all of the three things I've mentioned together. Something like smoking. When those who smoke normally tends to have almost everything. As we said, it is a lifestyle behavior. We also have
you mean the diabetes or the
hypertension? Yeah. Together with the oral cavity, oral health, yes. And then when you have like poor diet, those who if you don't manage your diet well, you are likely to suffer from all three, as I said. And then some of other things also has to do with genetics. As I said, there are some oral health conditions that are genetically like connected. Yes. So if we want to maintain a good oral hygiene and then also manage our diet, as maintaining a good oral hygiene to manage our diabetes and other things, we have to try as much as possible to avoid all these risk factors that I've spoken about. So you need to manage your diet and then check the healthy diet that you're supposed to eat. In the oral cavity, when we have to talk about oral hygiene in relation to diet, we are looking at diet that massages your jaw and your teeth. We are looking at diet that contains a lot of calcium and then potassium that makes your teeth quite stronger. Yes.
So every day when we wake up, we are drinking cocoa. You have to exercise your jaw.
Yes,
choose something.
Choose something to
exercise your jaw. Yeah.
Apart from that, we are also looking at you reducing the amount of sugar intake, because as I said, if your blood glucose level increases, it tends to have an impact on your oral cavity as well. When we talk about dental caries into proper, we realize that glucose within the oral cavity sometimes that's a lot harm to the system. So we say that once you consume any form of let's say added sugar and other things, you have to rinse your mouth with water and other things. Yes. So if we don't do all these things and then we have these conditions, sometimes it tends to reduce the self-confidence that we have. Imagine you're unable to, your portions of your teeth are gone off and other things. It tends to have an impact on your confidence and other things. So improving our oral health improves our general health as well.
So essentially our oral health has a huge link between our overall well-being, and you don't want to put that into the gutters. Sometimes you just wake up, you brush your teeth when you're going to bed. Today on my toothpaste, I actually read that, and funny enough, I've been using this toothpaste for the longest time, and I actually read that it says use this to, I'm not going to mention the brand because I haven't been paid to advertise for it. Use this 2 to 3 times daily. And I'm thinking to myself, who will be brushing their teeth 3 times a day? But it happens. Sometimes, you know, when you're home, maybe for me, for instance, when I wake up, when I'm about to go out, you want to clean up your teeth, and when you're about to go to bed. So it's very possible, and be mindful of the things that you consume, and be reminded always that it should be in moderation and not in excess. Thank you so much, Haruna.
Thank you, OHEMAA.
Ibrahim. And we say Idrisu again. Thank you. All right. So up next, I'm going to be in conversation with Julius Anthony. He is the youth communicator for the NDC, and we're going to unpack the NDC manifesto and what's the manifesto, what thing can the youth hold on to when we take a broad look at the manifesto. Do stay.
Fito afishe easy. Na daube ya shonko. Na says the Ridge Royal Hotel kanwa. Na waye dead. Ridge Royal Hotel, your official hospitality friendly facility for Fito afishe 2024. Mogwa man afishe pa. Afishe ya. Wo breakfast, lunch and dinner buffet beya wo dawa. To the Ridge Royal Hotel. Order your bites, pizzas, sandwiches, pancakes and special cuisines by our international chefs and have it delivered at your doorstep. Join us for the best music, drinks and ambience at our pool bar and lounge as we meet friends, family and loved ones this festive season. Ogwazi, we love our tradition and our hospitality trademark is Ridge Royal Hotel. Call us now on 031-2003-222 or 050-1672-908. Locate us at 2nd Ridge Cape Coast or visit www.ridgeroyalhotel.com.gh. Official poll. Ridge Royal Hotel, richly inviting, comfortably yours.
The law is pertinent to every aspect of our lives, and so lawyers must not be the backup plan for the rainy day only.
Nothing received from a client should be put in a lawyer's personal account until such time that the money has actually been earned.
It is very dangerous to perpetuate the theory that it is narcotics that leads to crime increase.
The relevance of the law cuts across our business, social, and family transactions. Doubt this?
You can't borrow from somebody who's your client. That would lead to a conflict situation. And that's something that as a lawyer you must jealously guard when you are representing a client.
You have to register your Mohammedan marriage within 7 days?
Within a week of the celebration of the marriage.
So if you don't register it, it's not a valid marriage. Journey with our Law Express panel every week as we confirm the place of the law in our everyday transactions.
Under etiquette rules, a lawyer can terminate for non-payment of fees. So basically, if you don't pay your fees, a lawyer has a right to terminate your engagement.
It's also a little bit.
Welcome back to the show. This is still Good Morning Africa, the newspaper headline segment with me, OHEMAA, AGYEKUM. And as I said, I'm going to be in conversation with a youth communicator. He's in the person of Julius Anthony, and we're going to unpack the NDC manifesto, which has been what is happening since the NDC launched its manifesto somewhere last week. And we're going to talk about what is in the manifesto for the youth. Julius will help us understand that. Good morning, Julius.
Good morning, OHEMAA.
How
it's
are you?
a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. I'm in the esteemed company of a celebrity. That's what my says. All right, thank you for coming. Now, Julius, tell us. About a week ago, the NDC manifesto was launched, and after its outdooring, people had a lot of things to say, especially with regards to the whole policy theme, which is reset and rebuilding Ghana, and the fact that there's going to be 24-hour economy, among other a plethora of policies / promises. I was telling you that I hadn't seen any section for the youth particularly, and you just sent me.
I'm very surprised.
Yeah, and you just sent, because I think I have the abridged version, and you just sent me a whole 17-page document, and it has to do with youth entrepreneurship and skills development, among several other things. Help us or enlighten us on the specifics when it comes to the policies that will inure to the benefit of the youth.
Sure. Thank you very much, OHEMAA, and good morning to our cherished listeners, especially the young people of Ghana, for whom this manifesto is about. I'm surprised actually that you said you didn't see, because we dedicated a whole day to the launch of the Youth Manifesto. I spoke at that event as well, and throughout that process, the highlight of the conversation is that we want to create opportunities for young people to develop business, to get jobs, and we want to defray the unprecedented number of unemployed people in the country today. If you look at the Ghana Statistical Service recent survey, it will tell you that we have close to 2 million young people within the ages of 15 to 35 who are neither in any education, training or skill or with in any employment whatsoever. That is a scary number for a population of 30 million. We don't need to have that number of people without jobs. Then 14% of our population are unemployed as we speak today. That is an increase, a very significant increase from 8%, which President Mahama, which was the prevailing rate during President Mahama's tenure. We have a situation where our country is now rated as junk in the capital markets, which means that we have been locked out. Nobody wants to advance any credit to us whatsoever. Now the question is, how do we move our country forward? How do we make sure that we remove our young people from this quagmire that we face in this unprecedented economic situation? President Mahama has come out with key initiatives which would actually seek to turn the course of the country around. For young people especially, we have I would want to start on the 1 million coders policy. The 1 million coders policy is targeted at training 1 million young people in IT skills, and it would include coding, web design, all of that. When we do that, the idea is to ensure that there will be various incubation hubs in the regions. You see the Accra Digital Center right across here. The intention of the Accra Digital Center is to serve as an incubation hub for innovative talents so that people can develop digital products to serve the country. During President Mahama's presidency, you can attest to some of the services that have been brought when it comes to digital transformation. President Mahama introduced the eServices.gov that this government just changed to Ghana.gov and claimed that they have done it. President Mahama is responsible for building the National Data Center here in Accra with a backup in KNUST. And that is the infrastructure upon which any digital development can be driven. And so when President Mahama tells you that he's going to train 1 million coders, it is directly linked to these initiatives that he has undertaken in the past. When we do that, we can be able to get people to create jobs for themselves first of all. We can get them to actually get jobs even outside of Ghana while working from here. That's the idea of the 1 million coders program. Now, beyond the 1 million coders program, we want to do what we call the AGYEKUM policy.
Right.
Now, the AGYEKUM policy is intended to ensure that we support young entrepreneurs. So young businesses which are, led by young people are supposed to be supported and given the needed, mentoring and all of that so that those businesses can thrive. Beyond that, we want to remove the usual encumbrances that young people face when they go into business, the corporate income taxes and all of that, which at the inception of any business, if it is too much, would collapse the business. In this present dispensation that we have where all transactions are online and all, we have a policy like the e-levy, which is an encumbrance in the way of all of these things. President Mahama is saying that we'll remove those encumbrances so young people's businesses can thrive and, and have an ecosystem that's sustainable for them. Beyond that, just 2 days ago, or was it yesterday, there was an announcement by the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of AGYEKUM that there is food shortage in Ghana. Technically, that's what they are telling us.
There's a drought.
Why do we even have a drought when they said they built dams in 500 villages? It's shocking that we have a drought at a time where dams are built and the dams are not being used, to deal with it. It's really surprising. It means that the dams are nowhere to be found. We want to, change the course of this country as far as agriculture is concerned. Over the years, lip service has been paid to the fact that agriculture is the backbone of, Ghana's development and all of that. When the reality remains that we have been retrogressing over the period. Manufacturing, as of now, is in the negatives. Industrial development is in the negative. Agriculture is also sliding into the negative. What we want to do is institute the farm bank policy. What that would do is that lands will be specifically designated as for purposes of farming. When those lands are specifically designated for purposes of farming, because young people, if I stand up today, I want to farm. The lands are in the hands of chiefs, they're in the hands of clans, they're in the hands of families and all of that. How do I access them? We need a policy that actually banks land for purposes of farming. At independence, Ghana was demarcated into various zones, farming areas, all of that. Some of those areas are now residential areas, contrary to the national plan. We need a revert to this sort of planning so that those lands are made available to young people. When you do that, what you want to do next is to ensure that you make agriculture attractive to them. If they ask you and me to go through the usual form of farming where we'll pick cutlass and hoe in the morning and go and do that, chances are that we'll say no. We won't do it. But if we have the land bank policy as a designated area, we can form a consortium and we have mechanical ways of going about farming. We have a tractor that serves my farm, serves your farm, and we know that it's a consortium we are running. We will be willing to go into agriculture because we can do it stress-free and all of that.
Right.
When we are able to achieve that, what we want to do is also introduce what we call the farm support services. When we have the farm support services, what it's going to do is that they will provide the needed technical support and advice to the young farmers who would go into that area. and we are linking it to our digital initiative, our digital drive initiative, because there will be zones beyond the regional centers. There will be zones that are specifically targeted at developing digital products to serve rural communities. For example, all the applications that are available today, which can actually tell farmers or change in weather, the stage at which the crop has reached, what fertilizer to use, what symptoms to detect when there's a pest and parasite infestation, all of that, all those things that could actually give guides are in English language or other foreign languages. How do we create a situation where our local farmers are also able to relate to the growing trends?
Absolutely.
When you have the local incubators or the what do you call it? The local IT parks, which would actually develop these things for various communities, serve particular community purposes, then we can be able to do that as well. So farming is becoming more attractive if we are able to do these things.
Thank you so much. We don't have much time, but let's try and make this let's try and work it out. Now, when you engage any young person, now their plight in this country revolves around 3 pillars: education, jobs, and the economy at large. Now, you've made mention of jobs and bringing in agriculture and expanding our agricultural sector. Now, when it comes to the economy, how does the youth fit in or become an integral part of resetting the economy?
Well, clearly, as I said, when it comes to the economy at large, what we need at this stage as a country is to restore our balance of payment problems, one. Then our exchange rate can become better when it follows. How do you achieve that? You need to move your country from an import-intensive, economy to an import substitution to an exporting economy. To do that, you must increase domestic production. There is no alternative to it. The other alternatives other countries have found is massive oil discovery and all of those things. Our case has proven so far to be that the oil revenues are being dissipated under this particular government, and so it doesn't serve us. What we need to do then is to improve production. That's why the 24-hour economy comes in. The 24-hour economy has as its overarching objective what I just said: making Ghana an import-led, an import substitution to an export-led economy. To do that, we must give incentives to people to produce, so that there will be a deliberate government intervention in various sectors, including manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, and some government services, including DVLA, passport office, all of those ones. You do that by actually creating 3 different shifts, so that the same job which ordinarily one person would do from 8 a.m. in the morning to 5 p.m. and it is done, we now have 3 different people on that job. You increase production. There is deliberate government intervention, including time of use tariff, all of that, so that cost of electricity, for example, for evening works is lower than cost of electricity during the daytime, and all of that. When we do that, we can improve our manufacturing sector. That is how young people come in, because they will be the ones on those jobs. You get it? And eventually, when we increase our production in various areas, it would have an impact on agriculture. When your manufacturing increases, there will be more demand for your agricultural products, and you will need to do massive investment. And that is why it is related to the initial policy initiatives I discussed on.
Let's talk about the betting tax. Now, betting has become something young people have resorted to, looking at the low rate of available jobs. Now, when the NDC comes to power, what promises do they have? I don't. Straight up.
Yeah. It's cancelling the betting tax. Straight up. That one is part of President Mahama's 120-day commitment to the people of Ghana. That immediately he is sworn into office, before the expiration of 120 days, betting tax will be gone, e-levy will be gone. There's no conversation, no ifs, no buts. It is going. It's as simple as that. The betting tax makes no sense. And with all due respect to Vice President Bawumia and the people handling this country now, if they put a quota or the sort of a calculation and deliberation that those who bet put into it before they stake their wagers on the teams and win, this economy should not be like this. They don't put in that level of thinking. They only look at cosmetic approaches to dealing with the problems of Ghana. That is why somebody who tells you that he's an economic expert and he's going to change the fortunes of this country around is running an economy where the exchange rate is 16 cedis and suddenly he's an IT expert. Perhaps he was using the 7 years that he has been in government to study IT. That's why the economy is flopping. We need to encourage people to be innovative. E-levy, betting tax, all of those things. Well, the argument is that betting is not an avenue of living and blah, blah, blah. Why are people doing that? Why are people betting? People have resorted to betting because they don't have reliable jobs. If people have reliable jobs and are committed to those jobs, I don't think they would have time to bet. You created a situation where the people don't have jobs. And when they bet, you are taking money from them. And do you know what is very annoying about the betting tax?
Tell me.
If I have a bet wallet, and I deposit, say, 200 cedis into the bet wallet with the intention to stake a bet, and I change my mind and decide that I won't bet again. If I try to withdraw my own money, they'll slap 10% on it, which means I'll lose 20 cedis in an early morning simply by just putting money in my bet wallet.
And deciding to withdraw.
It makes no sense at all. And so for betting tax, it is going. Okay. It is one of the first things that will be gone. E-levy is going.
Julius, I wish you could come again so that we could, extend this conversation because we don't have much time. Our guests for the newspaper review segment have arrived and we need to get started with that. But thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we'll arrange to have an extensive conversation. So one morning it's just going to be Julius and I. Nobody's coming. Thank you so much, Julius, for joining me. My name is OHEMAA AGYEKUM, and the newspaper review segment is up next. Do stay.
Stay refreshed with Malt. Prepare for hydration.